Hello, welcome to another up close video. Today's one is for the Eternal Moments memory book die set from Tonic, and it's part of their Cyber Week releases for 2021. And as you can see, it is an absolutely enormous die set. I'm pretty certain that you get both sheets within the die set because everything works together, and I would presume that you'll get it in one of the popper folders with either one or two of the magnetic sheets to hold them, because you could put them double-sided on the magnetic sheet because Tonic ones are fantastic and they are double-sided. But I'm not 100% sure of the packaging, but I would presume it's like that because that's how the Delightful Dresser from their birthday week celebrations came, when it was a really massive die set like this. So I would presume it comes in similar kind of packaging to that if you got that one. But this one, I don't know how many of you who watch my videos are like into your memory books or have seen many of the other memory book dies. I did do a couple of up close videos a while back running through all of the memory book dies up to that point, but obviously there's been quite a few new releases since then, and I don't tend to do videos showing you how to make a memory book because there are so many already out there, and there are so many different ways of making a memory book. There's not really just one way, and you know what I'm like, going off on tangents. I think it would just be a completely confusing video of me trying to explain how I do a memory book. But I do have two examples that I've made with this set that I will show you as well, and I'll try and sort of explain how I put them together. They're really, really simple to do. It's just, you know, it's a lovely project to work on really, and you can bring out all of your patterned papers that you haven't had a chance to use in a while, or even toppers as well work really nicely to decorate your pages too, or obviously photographs and stuff as well. But basically this is the Eternal Moments memory book, which is a new shape that hasn't come out in any of the memory books before, but it's also like a complete set really, that gives you all of the different options of how to create your own memory book. So in the past, they've kind of just gone with, you get a set of like layering dies that create the main pages for a memory book, and then there's a separate set that has the spine in, or there's another type of memory book that has the sort of eyelet kind of binding mechanism to it. And they've kind of kept things similar to like not overwhelm you. But if you're a beginner memory book maker and you really just want one set to be able to make memory books with, I think this one is a fantastic one, because although it creates a shaped memory book, which you might not be that keen on to begin with, there's nothing to stop you from using the eyelet mechanism or the spine just with square or rectangle pieces of card as well. There's nothing to stop you from doing that. They've just given you a gorgeous fancy design for the memory book, and you have so many of the layers that go perfectly together as well, and all of these actual pages for the memory book have gorgeous debossed detail in them as well, which I'll show you up close later on, and also on the finished samples that I've done as well. It's really, really gorgeous, and it debosses in, and it's such a fine, gorgeous detail. And I love the fact that within this die set, you're not just getting the pages to make the memory books with one layer, you're getting all of that, but you're also getting the extra layering die set. They often do bring out a separate layering die set to go with the pages when they release a new shape of memory book, but it's nice that you get it all in one set, because then you've got extra mats and layers to go on here, to decorate the covers of them, to make the little flips and flaps and pockets and all sorts of things in there as well. And you also get extras in here too. For example, you've got sentiments, you've got debossing sentiments, which look really fantastic actually. You've got some lovely scripty kind of sentiments in here, and then you've also got these little tabs. Usually it's a separate die set that has these little tab kind of things in, but they've actually got 4 different designs in here of different tabs that you can use. You've got little gift tags in here as well that can go in pockets. You've got the eyelets to kind of go around the holes if you're doing that kind of binding mechanism, and there's nothing to stop you from doing both binding mechanisms on a book as well. There are so many different ways that you can make a memory book and add different bits and pieces in. You could have a smaller memory book that comes out of a page on a bigger memory book as well. There are just so many different options, but I just love that this set has like everything in that you're going to need to start your memory book making journey if you've not tried it before, or if you have tried it before, you've then got a new shape to work with. The most recent one before this set was the hexagon one, and there was actually a set of 2 new spines that came out with the hexagon. They were longer than this one, but I think this is a similar sized spine to the smaller width spine from the one that came out with the hexagon memory books. It's only got like 5mm between the pages, and they did also do a wider one as well. So you can also just buy like the spine add-on set if you wanted some different options for the spine for this one as well, or you can just use your scoreboard to create your own spine too. It depends how you like to work, if you have a scoreboard as well, and how your brain works, I suppose, too, for figuring out measurements and stuff to create a spine. I know some crafters are really against like having to measure anything, so having the actual dies that create the spine and everything for you is just fantastic, because it means you don't have to sit there with the pen and paper and figure out, you know, all of the different increments you want to score at and stuff. It's so much easier just to have the die to do it for you. So firstly, as a size reference for these die sets, this is the magnetic stand that Tonic do, where it's got the orange on it and you can flip it up and have it as a stand on your desk. These are actually fantastic. I didn't think I was going to use them that much really, but they have been a lifesaver with these kind of die sets for not losing anything or mixing them up with something else that you're working on as well, because you can just have all the dies in here like this. And then once you've finished for the day, you just put it all away like that. Or if you're working on multiple projects at once, you can, you know, have a couple of them, have all of the dies for one thing on one, all of the dies for the other project on the other, and then you make sure you put them all back at the end of the day, close the folder up, and then they're all safe, ready for when you want to come back to it. So I've really been loving these magnetic stands, so I'll make sure to link these below the video as well, and this die set will also be linked below the video in the description box and also on my blog post as well. And I really do appreciate you using my links, because they are affiliate links, which means I do get a small commission at no extra cost to you when you place an order after clicking one of those links, and they are for the UK and the USA sites as well, if you were unsure about that before. I have links for both of them, so depending where you are in the world, you should be able to use one of my links to place your order. And I really do appreciate it, so thank you very much to anybody who has ever or does ever use them. So I'm trying to think about what's the best way to start showing you this die set, because I suppose it depends if you have made a memory book before or if you haven't. So maybe let's look at the pages first. So you have 3 different page sizes in here, and they are this really lovely fancy label shape kind of design, and this is really large. I made the 2 smaller sizes, and you can actually get one page from an A5 sheet for the middle sized, and then for the smaller size I was actually folding over, so basically having an A6 card blank and using this page along with this to create my book as well, and that actually works for like A6 card blanks. So this one would require an A4 piece of paper or card for every page that you want to create. And when I'm making a memory book, I like to cut 2 of them and stick them back to back, especially with these ones, because you have that fantastic debossed detail on there. Look how beautifully fine it is. And again, if you love your hot foiling, you possibly could get this to hot foil. I've not tried it, so I can't say for definite, but I do think you could have a go at trying to get that to hot foil as well, if you're really into your hot foiling. So these are the 3 page sizes. So this one is basically would cut out of an A4 piece of cardstock, and if I go from the notch on here, which would be kind of where you score it to create your book, it is 6 inches wide and 9.5 inches tall, so a really large scale kind of book page die, so you can really do a lot of stuff on these pages, creating the pockets and the flaps and magnetic closures and all sorts of bits and pieces on these pages. They'd work really well for that. Then the next page down is, if I line it up with the notch again, it is about 4 3/4 wide and then 7 1/4 tall, so roughly kind of like a 5 by 7-ish kind of size. So you can sort of imagine what kind of proportions and stuff that would look like when you're adding stuff to it. And then the smallest little one is about 3.5 inches by 5.5 inches, so a really cute diddy little size. And lots of these, actually, don't just think about them as memory books, you can also use them for like swatch books as well. You could create a swatch of all of your ink pads that you have, or you could do maybe even Nuvo drops as well, because if you have the spine, you've got that 5mm depth between them. If you did it all one-sided pages, you'd have enough sort of space between them for the profile of a Nuvo drop to stick up. You could have swatches of all of the different cardstock that you own as well, and label, you know, where they're from, and maybe even keep track of the price of them. So if you do lots of projects and stuff, and you maybe sell stuff, you can easily then work out, you know, costs of materials and things like that. So I think there are so many different uses for a memory book as well. But let's have a look at how these two layers combine. So I've shown you the 3 page sizes, but you also get, for each of those 3 page sizes, you also get a gorgeous stitched layer. I really love this stitching. I love any stitching on dies. It's just my favourite kind of embellishment. And these are actually little kind of like hand-drawn ones. They're a little bit wonky in some places, which I think just gives an extra charm to the die set. Actually, I should have just shown you the gorgeous deboss detail on these 2 other page dies as well. Let me just try and get this one off here. So the other deboss details, this one has hearts in it, and there's even hearts down the side here, and then the other smallest one has the diamond design along the top like the largest one, and it does have diamonds down the side, and so does the largest one as well. So those are the beautiful patterns that are in there. I should have shown you that close up just now. But the layers that go on them, you have got the 3 different layers for the 3 different sizes of the book pages. So you can see how those would layer inside each other if you just wanted to layer up the front cover of the memory book, or if you wanted to add your mats and layers on the interior of your memory book pages. You can actually use these to cut out photographs. You can have patterned papers and all sorts in there as well. But the lovely thing about this die set is, because we have the 2 A4 die sets within it, we actually have extra possibilities for matting and layering onto your pages. So this is the largest mat and layer that you have, and then the largest one from the extra set is a straight edge rather than the stitch, and it actually fits perfectly inside. So when you have both of them cut and layered on top of each other, you see the straight edge of this gorgeous shape, and then you have the stitched detail poking out of the edge of it. So I can show you that on my medium-sized book. So it looks like this, and you have that for all 3 layers going down the book, which I think is just really lovely. I love that kind of extra little detail really, but it enables you to add a patterned paper on without having to have the patterned paper coming right to the edge. You've got the lovely colour of a cardstock to kind of frame the patterned paper that you're using on there, which I think is really lovely. And so you have that all the way down onto the other layers as well. So you've got those ones there, so you've then got your extra mat and layer for those, but you also have, for the central one, which is the smallest, you also have another mat and layer as well, which then goes smaller with a pierced detail. So it's smaller than the straight edged one, and then it has the pierced detail on there as well. So also having this kind of different one too, you can combine this with the stitched one and cut them both together, and you could get a frame then that would have the stitch detail on the frame. So you can also mix and match in that way as well. I'm sure I'm stating the obvious a lot of the time talking about these, but you know, some of you might not have seen sort of memory book dies before, so I kind of want to give as much detail as I can. Then, as well as just all of the plain edge dies, you've got beautiful decorative detail in here as well. I didn't actually cut this one, but this has some fantastic stitch detail in there as well, going up those like vertical pieces. Really pretty design. And obviously you have the straight edges that will go either side of this, but you could also cut this inside of the stitched one and you just have an extra wide border between the start of the detail and the stitched, or you could cut it with the straight edge and mat and layer it onto the stitched one as well and have the colour of the stitched one showing through the apertures in this. So again, lots of different ideas. the next size down has this gorgeous design inside it. So another pretty intricate one actually, and it's kind of got almost like diamond shapes, and then so you've got like a little pointy ended rectangle and then like a long rectangle with little diamonds on the end of it. Really interesting kind of design, and I think these would look lovely on your cards as well, not just having to use them to layer up your memory books and stuff. I think they look fantastic on cards. And then right in the centre of that nesting die set, we've also got an extra gift tag in here too, which again works perfectly to put inside the pockets that you might create inside your memory book, which I've done on one of mine. And this one actually has some gorgeous deboss detail as well. It's got that gorgeous heart design on it and some little dashes that deboss in. And then you've got the hole at the bottom, and you have 2 layers to layer up onto that as well. So you've got a stitched one and a straight edged one that you can layer up, so then you get a similar effect to the stitched edged and the straight edge for your mats and layers for your pages as well. So everything coordinates together. They've really thought about it, which is always the way with Tonic die sets. While we're looking at that tag, let's have a look at the other tag that we get. There's actually 2 tags in here in this little nesting set. So you've got this little tag that has the sort of eyelet hole on the end, and then you also have the mat and layer. But don't forget, you can just use these for sentiments and stuff on your cards if you want a fancy little shape for your sentiment. And then right in the centre of that one, they've also given us another tag as well. So these kind of little tags are really nice to sort of hang off the twine that you've used to bind the book together. If you've used the little eyelet kind of holes to bind it together, these little tags look fantastic hanging off of that. And actually, I just realised there is actually another tag in here too, because this little heart over here, if I can lift it off, the little heart actually has a hole in it. It debosses the word love, cuts a heart out of the bottom, and has the hole too. So you've got another option for a tiny little tag as well to kind of dangle off maybe a bookmark that you've put inside the memory book, or your binding mechanism. You might want to tie one of these on as well. So those are kind of like the little tag elements. Then I suppose I should talk to you about how you actually make a memory book, like how you would bind it together. So there are multiple different ways of how you would make your memory book, and I've made 2 of them to show you in 2 different ways, but not the 2 different ways that you get in the die set, because I actually prefer to make my memory books in a different way as well. Although I love the ways that Tonic show too, but I just have another way that I tend to make them that I can show you as well. So for the smallest memory book that I made, I will show you these in more detail later on in the video, but for the smallest memory book that I made, I used the hole mechanism to bind it, and I've used those gorgeous little eyelet pieces to go on either side of the book, so it kind of adds a decorative element but also kind of reinforces the holes as well. And the way I created this one is I took basically A6 card blanks. I mean, I cut my own card down and folded it in half, but basically the concept is an A6 card blank, which is 10.5 wide, and then the height just has got to be taller than the actual page, basically 10.5 centimeters if you were, yeah. And then what I did is I took the whole die and I took this die and I butted them up against each other. And the great thing about the whole die is they've actually given you notches on it. I think you can see that. So you've got little notches both ends that mean that you can line it up in the perfect positioning for all of the page heights as well if you want to, depending on what size book you're making. So I used the 2 notches that are the smallest ones to line up the page, and then I used tape to stick these 2 dies together, and then I took them stuck together so they would be backwards like this, and I lined this as close as I could to the fold line of my A6 card blank. So I haven't got an A6 one here, but I've got a square one that I can just show you. So that is the fold line, and I had basically stuck these 2 dies together so it just made it easier for cutting multiples, and then I butted this up so maybe like a millimetre away from the edge, just so that the holes have got enough reinforcement there. And then I had attached this one so it all die cut together. And then my pages, I had obviously I needed to trim that last tiny bit off of there, but then I basically had my page with the whole mechanism already down the side of them. And I think I cut maybe 5. I cut 5 of them, so you can see at the side of the book, there's 5 of them. And then all I did was just stack them all together. So just once this is cut, you just do 4 more of them and then stack them all together. And then all I did was take some of the Tonic Baker's twine and just weave it up and down. I actually started at the bottom and put the central part of my twine at the bottom and then went either side and then came back and did like an S shape. So they're both going like this. And then when I got to the top, I just pulled one over so that I could tie the bow on the front of the book. And then I've just used some of the smaller dies that I'll show you a little bit later to add to the end of the twine. I mean, the twine doesn't really fray that much, but I thought it was a cute little extra detail to add onto there. So that is how I created the spine on this book. But if you wanted to use the actual spine die from the die set, which is this piece here, you would cut this however many multiples of pages that you want. So this spine makes space for 2 pages, and they could be double-sided pages as well. And the way it kind of works is that you fold down the centre of this one. You see here, these have got like little pippy bits on them. You fold down the centre of these ones and then squish this together, so this central section will lay flat and these 2 pieces will fold back to back together and stick upwards, and same here as well. And then you can do as many as you want, sticking them all together to create your spine. And then the idea is that this piece that's sticking straight upwards, you stick 1 page to one side and 1 to the other side, and then as you're doing that you can create a pocket between the 2 pages if you want to as well, so that you can add tags and stuff inside them. But that is how the spine die kind of works. However, I like to make my books like this, which does give you quite a chunky kind of portion here, because if you use the spine die, I mean, you'd maybe have like that much sticking out of the edge. But I like to do this method, which has got 3D foam tape in there, because I don't tend to add too much to my pages. And although they have made this one a lesser gap here, which is probably better than the original spine die, having the lesser gap between the 2 pages, I still quite like it to be even lesser of a gap as well. So mine are about 2 millimeters apart rather than about 5 millimeters apart. And the way I do this is I take my page die like this, and I actually trimmed all of my pieces of card down to A5 in size, and then I butted this edge up to the side of the card so I got a longer piece coming out of here. And then I actually use 3D foam tape to make my spine. If you have a narrower 3D foam tape, then obviously you can make this a narrower kind of spine, but I was just using the sort of generic 19mm kind of width foam tape on here. And you have this extra piece, because the way a page works for a memory book, it doesn't have the cutting edge along here, it just goes off, so you can extend this line and create this part of your page as long as you need it to be to create your spine mechanism. And so for my one, I take one of the pages and I line up the foam tape up to this notch. So I line up a strip of foam tape up to that notch, and then I just trimmed it off with scissors because I knew I was going to cover the edge of the spine, so it didn't have to be exactly perfect. And then I just do that for however many pages. And I did 5 pages again because I did them back to back. So I used 5 A4 sheets so that each page would require half a sheet, but I did them back to back. So I've got a 5-page book out of 5 sheets of cardstock to create the main actual book piece, and I did them back to back because I wanted that gorgeous debossed detail on both sides of the page as well. Plus it also makes it stronger, and if I had wanted to, I could have left a gap between here and had a pocket inside the pages as well. I did do pockets on my other book, but you could definitely have added pockets on this one as well. And so the way I finish off the spine is each of the layers, bar the top one, I've then got a book with a piece of card hanging out here and a strip of foam tape on them. I then trim off the excess card that's hanging out further than the foam tape, you start with the bottom layer, remove the backing off the foam tape, take the next one, stick it straight over the top, making sure the pages line up, and then keep going until you get to the top one, which is just the cardstock, because you don't need an extra piece of foam tape to do that one. And then all you do is just use some decorative papers later on to kind of wrap around the spine. I left these little bits open so you could kind of see what I mean. So you've got the layers of foam tape between the actual pages to create the spine of the book, and you can go as deep as you want for this as well, and it just creates a lovely, strong, sturdy book that you know is not going to fall apart. Because I do find sometimes when you're using a spine die that your pages could fall off of here. I do often try to staple the pages onto the spine, but then it might look a bit ugly on the inside and stuff. So this is my favourite way of creating a memory book. When I used to make memory books like 10 years ago, I used to put them together like this, and I'm pretty sure they're all still together. Mum's got one that I did for her, and I'm pretty sure that's still holding together really nicely just with this foam tape spine. So they last really well, which is good. Okay, so now we've had a look at all of the dies that create the pages and the matte and layers and how I kind of put my memory books and stuff together. We've got all of the final extra dies that are left over on the die sets as well. So let me zoom in a little bit closer. So we've got this little one that is actually the eyelets that go over the top of the spine, so you can cut this a few times and then use those as eyelets. They came out with the Tonic insert creators a couple of years back, and I actually did a sped up card making video using some of these eyelet kind of pieces as little decorations on the card, like scattering them across the card instead of sequins or Nouveau drops or something. You can actually use little pieces like this, which I think is cool, or you can actually use these on any gift tags that you might create yourself, or other dies that you already have to like reinforce the whole. So it's like a modern square version of a hole reinforcer, so you can actually use them for that kind of thing as well. Then what I was talking about before, you have these little tabs that you can use on the edge of your pages or on little toppers and stuff that will pull out of your book. So for example, on this one I've got little toppers and I've put the little tabs on there like that. So you've got that little version. And then I think I did a version in here as well. Yeah, I used the hexagon one in here. So you can actually use those like that. They basically just fold in half and stick either side of whatever you're putting them on. And you have the flower, and you also have an extra added layer that has the outline plus a debossed line in there as well to decorate that larger portion on one side, which can be the back or the front depending what kind of look you're going for. You've got this lovely arrow, which I didn't actually use, but that's a pretty cool idea, having that arrow, because it kind of points you towards something, which is nice. And you've got the little sort of cut corner rectangle that will matte and layer onto that piece there. You've got a circle that's got little piercing details, and again you've got the little circle that will matte and layer with that debossing line, and then you've got the hexagon, which I used on one of mine as well. And you do also have the layer with the debossing line on that too. And I think these look so lovely. And actually on this one that I did, I kind of used a cinnamony sort of colour cardstock, because it almost looks like that faux embossed leather kind of look. I think with the brown, it really gives that kind of a look to it, which I think looks really cool. And even with these other decorative dies that I'll show you in a second as well, works really, really nicely. So within this die set, you basically have a baby die set of different tabs that you can use. Then you also have 3 CRaFTi font word dies as well. You've got this one that says Dreams Come True, which is a lovely little dainty delicate one, and you also have the bubble to mount it onto as well, depending if you want to do it on vellum or solid coloured cardstock, however you like to add yours. You've also got this one that says Friends, with some lovely swirly CRaFTi kind of accents going all around it. And then you also have this one which says Eternal on there as well, and again you have the sort of swooping curly sort of lines coming around it too, and you get the bubble for both of them as well, so it makes it nice and easy to add to your project or to make them stand out on the front of your little book as well. So you've got those. Then you have these debossing arched word dies. You do have to die cut the rectangle first and then deboss the writing into it. And to deboss any of these dies, you just run them through on your normal cutting sandwich, which is the white and orange plates for the tangerine. And you've got this one that says then, now and forever. This one says live, laugh, love, and this one says for all the fun times. And they've got like, these two have got a mixture of a little cursive font in there, as well as like the generic sort of almost a typewritery kind of font on there. And they've also got little debossing bits. This one actually looks like tiny little screws. They've actually made it look like a tiny screw. These ones have got little hearts on them, and this one actually has cut out hearts on it as well. And if you've probably heard me say in the past, these cut from mirror card or satin mirror card work really nicely because you can automatically read them. However, I was doing it from that cinnamon coloured card, and you can still really read it nicely in that. So I'm guessing anything other than white card, basically it will work quite nicely in. And there's also other different types of techniques that you can use to pick out the words as well. If you have a steady hand, you can trace over it with a pen, or you can also do some different techniques with mousses and things like that to either embed the mousse into the letters or to kind of gently wipe the mousse on the top so that the letters stay the same colour as the card and the mousse colours the top of the card as well. So there's different ways of making these pop. Then, as well as those words, you can also have this selection of words that will mix and match with those sort of more scripty ones, or with these debossing sort of arched ones as well. And you've got my and our, so depending if it's from a family or just from you, you've got my and our. You've got hope, love, dreams, memories, forever, friendship and family. So you've got a really lovely selection of these, and you can actually do friends and family. Mixing the two together, and you can do like eternal love as well, eternal memories maybe even. So you can really mix and match all these little gorgeous ones, and I will show you them throughout the books that I have done as well. And then finally, the last few dies from this enormous die set are again some more like little embellishing kind of dies. I love this one, which is like a rounded square with those hearts in there, the interlocking hearts. You've also got a heart die, which has those debossing details in it as well. I love these too. They're, that's what I used on the end of my bits of twine for the one that I had bound with twine. And you've got like the cut corner rectangle, the hexagon and the circle, and you can actually fit these into those little tabs as well, so you can put those ones in the tabs if you'd rather than the ones that they come with. And you also have these basic shaped dies which also go with those tabs as well, that you could use with them depending on what kind of style you're going for. Basically, you've got the ones with the deboss line, the straight edge ones, or the ones with this deboss pattern or heart inside the centre of them as well. And then you have these two pieces, which I'm not 100% sure what they're for, but you can layer on any of the circle pieces onto them, and you also get a separate circle die to kind of layer onto here as well. I would think that they are kind of like a spine decorative detail maybe, so that you could put one on here and fold it around the spine, and then it would stick on the other side, and you could maybe use it to hang something off of it. Or maybe you could put this inside your memory book and use it to slide a paper clip on there that you've maybe added something decorative to the top of it, and you could use it as a place to kind of hold things on there as well. And you could even curve this portion, you know, push it out slightly and use it to hold a pencil in there as well. And you've got the two different sizes depending on, you know, what size book you're making as well. So I presume that's kind of what that die is for, but it's also a nice little different shaped die that you might not have as well, that you could use for all sorts of other different bits and pieces. Maybe even like an abstract, cutting loads of these out of pattern papers and making a background with them, or using the apertures as a background or something as well. So I think they could be useful for other bits and pieces too. So that is all of the dies from this enormous die set for the Eternal Moments memory books, and I'll be back in a second to properly show you through my memory books as well. Okay, so these are the two little memory books that I created with this die set, and I've just used some pattern paper pads with like toppers and stuff from my stash. So Firstly, you can see on the spine here, I actually used the smallest layering die just to like wrap around it, and it fitted perfectly on there as well. So you never know when one of the layers is going to actually work for a different kind of purpose for like covering something up as well. So I thought I'd mention that. And then this is the middle-sized book, which you can create from A5 pieces of card. Obviously, it depends on how long you want this portion to be. If you want it to be any longer than that, you're going to have to go with A4 pieces of card. But to create this book, I just used A5 pieces of card. So I got all of my 10 pages out of 5 sheets of A4 card. So it's quite a economic or cost-effective kind of book to make with your cardstock. And I also used some of the tan Craft Perfect card, which happened to perfectly match the pattern papers that I wanted to use as all of my mats and layers to go onto this. You can see that gorgeous debossed detail all the way around the pages, and how you have the stitched mat and then the plain mat to go on top of each other, and it just gives such a lovely effect. I've also used the actual larger tag that you get to be my like topper piece to put my sort of front cover sentiment on here as well. I used that gorgeous CRaFTi eternal word, and I just added in some of the words from the paper pad that I was using. So it says wonderful eternal love on there now, and then it's also got like some little bits of ephemera and stuff in there that I've just used to decorate. And then the next pages, again, all of the pages have got the stitched mat with that tan cardstock, and then I've used the different pattern papers from the pad that I was using to kind of decorate, and all the little ephemera pieces as well. But just a basic idea of like a really simple memory book that you could create for somebody. Obviously, you might not want to fill it full of just random ephemera pieces from a patterned paper pad. You could obviously tuck in photographs in here, tickets. You could make it as a gift for somebody and put scratch cards in it, maybe even like an Advent or 12 days of Christmas kind of thing. You could actually make them a memory book and put a lottery ticket or a scratch card or even a gift card for like a coffee shop or something in all of the different places as like different treats for the different days of December or the 12 days of Christmas. So this one is a little pocket. This is using the 2 smallest interior dies. So you've got the straight edge one and then the pierced one. I just matted and layered them up, and then I actually stuck tape going around that portion of the bottom of it to create the little pocket. And then I've used little bits of ephemera, like this is like a little folded mini note card, and like different bits and pieces on here as well. I've used a tab on one of them so it makes it easier to pull it out as well. So that's the first kind of page. They're all very similar, and I've just used some of the die cut words so you can see how that one, dreams, did I say dreams came true? I thought that said dreams come true. It says dreams came true. That's quite a different sentiment actually. I don't think I've got one that says dreams came true. That's quite nice actually. Anyway, so I've just added more bits and pieces again, like made another little pocket, but this pocket was different. So I had a spare patterned paper piece that I had cut using the plain edged die, and all I did was just rip it across the middle and use red liner tape to stick around this edge to create another pocket. So it's another different way of adding a pocket to your page. And then again, you could put tickets and little notelets and gift cards and all sorts of things in here. If you were making the largest size of this, you could definitely use this as maybe like a birthday book perhaps to give to like an older relative. You could maybe have all of the names of everybody in the family on all of the different pages, and you could already have a card ready for their birthday in a little pocket on the page, so that all they have to do is write the card and post it off. And you could even have the envelope in there with their address and a stamp on there as well, so it would mean that like everybody in your family would, you know, still get a birthday card from whoever the relative is that might not be very organised at remembering birthdays or something. I think that would be a cool idea for a memory book as well. Then the next page, you can see some of these words coming in. So this is them onto the tan cardstock, the Craft Perfect. It's not as noticeable as using them onto this cardstock that I did, but you can still read them. You might want to go over that with a white gel pen or a sparkly gel pen, or do some of the like mousse techniques or something, or you can actually maybe run it through again and maybe try and run it through on the embossing setting of using your green mat and your squidgy green mat as well as the white plate as the sandwich for the tangerine, to try and get it to deboss in there even deeper as well. If you are struggling with them to get a nice deboss on them, you can use the embossing sandwich of plates as well if you want to. Then I've done another little pocket here, same way as the first pocket that I showed you, but I've moved it further down on the card or on the page as well, because even though this is, you know, flipped the opposite way to the main page of the shape, it does kind of follow the sort of indents of the shape as well, to move that further down to the bottom. And then that is literally just one of the pattern papers cut with the smallest of those layering dies. This is again one of those little tags, and I've actually covered up the hole with the little tab piece that you can put on there as well. I was using them this way around, but you can use them this way around and then add an embellishment onto here, or maybe even a Nouveau drop or a gemstone or something would look fab on there as well. And then, you know, just using little bits of ephemera and stuff. And then the final 2 pages for this book, this was using those 2 same pieces again, but I did a weird pocket. So it is actually a pocket still, but the way I did it is I stuck tape like round here. So instead of using it along this portion, I made the pocket sort of more of a portrait pocket as well. So you can actually do your pockets that way too. But just a really simple, basic kind of memory book that you can create. And obviously all of these pages, they don't have to be bits of ephemera. They could be photographs and stuff as well. Or if you do that kind of birthday book sort of idea too, you can also do that kind of thing. So that is the first one that I made, which is the middle sized of the memory books. And then I also decided to do the little diddy one as well, and I did the lacing up kind of mechanism for that, and I explained how I kind of created the pages for this earlier. And then the way I have done the pages on the inside, because each page, like there's basically 5 signatures within there, because I created the card blank and cut it out of the card blank, so you have like the front and back of the front and the front and back of the back. But the way I decided to decorate it was to do them like this and leave that back page white. So each one has a white back page on the little kind of signatures within the memory book as well, as a different kind of idea. So for the layering up of this one, you know, I said before I like to have 2 of the pages cut and stick them back to back, so that when you open the book you have that gorgeous deboss detail on the back of the page. Well, because I was cutting this from a double layer of cardstock, it actually looks quite nice on the back of the first one. You can see the deboss detail still, so I didn't bother covering that one. And then this is the front of the back page, that debossed in quite nicely. But then the back of the back page, because this was pressing against my die cutting plate, it got marked with all of the like scratchy lines from previous die cutting. So to combat that, I just then used an A6 piece of card to cut another page out, and then I just stuck that on. So all of the back of the 5 signatures have got an extra die cut on them as well, just to really highlight that gorgeous deboss detail that you get around there. And then for the front cover of this one, I've used that sort of like a deep brown kind of cardstock to do that sort of faux, I don't know how they do it actually. Maybe they do just use like a hot stamp and they stamp it into it. But I've got one of those like organisers that is like a pink faux leather kind of thing, and it's got designs like pressed into it. I really think it looks like that, that lovely deboss detail into this brown kind of colour. And you've got those little extra elements on here as well. I've layered up the word friends 3 times and then added it onto the solid of the backing bubble, which I don't often do. I usually use vellum for that, so it's like a different little idea. Obviously there's probably a lot of you that already do it onto a solid cardstock, but I tend to always go for vellum, so it's a little bit of a different thing for me. And I've added the sentiment on here, used one of the toppers from the paper pad that I was using as well. And then all of the pages in here, very similarly kind of decorated, where I have actually created a pocket with the patterned paper onto the page. So because this was kind of like a card blank, I mean, I guess I could have created a pocket between, you know, sticking the extra die cut onto the back of this and created the pocket between the two white pages, but I decided to just create the pocket with the patterned paper. So if you forget when you're sticking your book together, you can easily just create a pocket using the patterned paper layer that you stick on top of it as well, which is nice. And then again, I've just done like little toppers and stuff and used the little tabs on them so that it's easy to pull them out, and I've done the little gift tags in there as well. And you could obviously write things on these, or, you know, memories and stuff relating to a photograph that you might have put on the front of there as well. And I've just used some of the same twine that I used to bind the book with, which is the jute twine in the Baker's Twine Craft Perfect collection from Tonic. And then, yeah, I've just kind of gone through and done the page thing on every one, using a few of the little die cut embellishments to sort of decorate, along with some of the toppers from the patterned papers that I've done as well. This one looks really lovely, the Live Laugh Love, really like that too. And oh, that one I didn't do a pocket, I just stuck the topper on, so it looks really nice just that kind of way as well. Then you've got another pocket here with a different patterned paper, another pocket here, and then going through I kind of ran out of bits that I die cut, so these ones are a bit plain at the back, but it just it's a nice way of using up your patterned papers and also making a nice little keepsake for somebody. And there are tons of different ideas or ways that you can use these to make little gifts for people as well. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this up close video. I was hoping to have enough time to make some cards, but I think this video is going to be extremely long already, so and I think I'm going to run out of time with the other stuff that I need to do as well. But obviously, as I always show you, all of these die sets to make any kind of 3D thing, whether it's a memory book or a box, you can use them on your cards as well, because all of these different sentiments and sayings and little accents, and even these kind of pieces, you could stick this to a plastic credit card gift card and make it easier for someone to pull it out of the pocket, because you could easily then remove it off of there as well when they want to use the gift card. So you could do that kind of thing on a card as well, or within the little memory books too. This would perfectly fit little gift cards in here. Obviously you might not want to give somebody that many gift cards for all of this, but you could create this idea of one of the signatures using a card blank to cut it out of, maybe not with the holes on it, just butting the actual page up to the corner or the fold of a card. And then this could be like a separate little flap that you stick inside the card that you've created, and then you put a gift card in it. So there really are so many different ways, and there's loads of gorgeous layers with those fancy, this fancy kind of label shape as well, the little delicate kind of words that are in there, the debossing dies, the little shape dies as well. I think you can really have fun with your card making with this die set as well. So I hope you enjoyed this up close video looking at the Eternal Moments memory book die set from the Cyber Week celebrations for Tonic for 2021. And don't forget the links to this set and also that Crafter's magnetic stand storage die thing, I can't remember the actual name of it. I'll also link that below the video, as well as the link for this die set as well, in case you're interested in getting hold of it. So thank you so much for watching. I have a feeling this is a very long video, so if you're still here, I really appreciate you watching this far into the video. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye!